I think this is an absolutely beautiful portrait, and I've been thinking about it all week, and I wanted to talk about it. I also think this is a form of protest. One of the most interesting things about this portrait is the way that the British media has sort of been discussing it, because it's so very obvious what the meaning here is, but no one's allowed to say it. And I think this was a brilliant tactic of the artist to do it this way, because I love seeing someone get their karma in exactly the way that they sort of distribute it, right? Like, the British royal family operates in a very shadowy way, and none of the things that they do can be pinned down, and nothing in this portrait that's derogatory can actually really be pinned down. Okay, the first thing, I absolutely love portraiture. It's something I'm like secretly obsessed with. I have stared at hours of portraits. I used to draw out my own self-portrait every morning to see how it would change. An incredible exercise if you want to do it. But I don't think I've ever seen a face that has this well done, because it conveys so much emotion and it is so layered with the idea of who the person is. There is an evil here that's very apparent, a certain amusement, and a little sliver of kindness, which I find very interesting. There's compassion in the face as well. Now, anyways, back to the overall. Obviously, everyone's saying he looks like he's in hell. He looks like he's on fire. Absolutely. But I want to get into the details of this. First of all, there's a light spot by his head over on that one side. Do you see that? And where the butterfly is coming in. To me, this infers that there is another place behind him where he could be, but he chooses to be right here in this space. Also, all of the insignia on his chest, you can no longer see what it signifies because it's all muted in this red, which I think was a tactic to sort of downplay the accomplishments of this man, actually. Because insignia is sort of by rank, right? And you can't tell the rank of any of these things, and you don't know what they're for. It's like Boy Scout patches, but there's nothing to decipher what they are. And it sort of brings up the question subtly of how important these things are and what his accomplishments have been. Like, right, executing thousands of people in small countries, plundering entire societies. Like, are these good badges to have or bad ones? And I think that the covering of this, the wash, kind of like makes a joke of those, medals. I saw a video of one point where he was sitting with the artist when he opens this portrait, which you need to see the video. I'll put a little piece of it at the end. But a clip I could not find was when they were talking about this butterfly, and this butterfly is the only thing that saves this artist because it creates a plausible deniability about this entire portrait, right? Because the sort of evil elements are all there. The thing about this portrait too, if this was done hundreds of years ago, this artist would be sent to the tower and executed within a few days probably. Because this is clearly not a flattering rendering of this character. Also, one of my favorite books of all time is a book called A Picture of Dorian Gray. If you're not familiar with it, it's by Oscar Wilde. It's about a character who is really, really beautiful in his youth. He's charismatic, and this artist does a portrait of him in the height of his beauty and his purity as well. But as this aristocratic man gets older, he becomes more and more violent and dangerous, and he starts committing the worst acts that a human can possibly do in their lives. And none of it shows on him physically in reality. The portrait itself takes on the caricature of him. So somewhere in an attic, that portrait is becoming the grotesque version of the soul that lives within it. And this portrait vaguely, somehow to me, references that book. I can't quite pin that down. Oh, and back to the point about them talking about this butterfly. I could not find the clip of him talking about it, but Charles says, oh, sometimes you're in the garden and the butterfly will land on your shoulders. And I thought this was a very interesting moment. And like I said, I wish I could have found it for you. We all know animals are attracted to good energy, and this man has spent probably hundreds of hours in these like beautiful gardens where he's surrounded by butterflies, and for him to say they sometimes come up to you, like anyone who's sat in a butterfly garden knows that they always come up to you. So it almost revealed to me that he radiates this really dark energy. Also, when he pulls the cloak off of the portrait, he is very clearly shocked by it, although he has seen a preview of it before, which they talk about. Now, this could be because he doesn't do anything himself. I've seen him get mad at people like not opening his pen cap for him, so that could be that. But to me, it's a very marked reaction of like, oh my gosh. Because it also looks like that Ghostbusters portrait. If you're not from the 80s, you won't know what I'm talking about. Very much this. All right, and now to get too real about this butterfly. A butterfly is a symbol of beauty that's sort of fleeting, right? The ephemeral, but it's also an incredibly delicate animal. And though he looks like he's in hell, you would never imagine a butterfly could make it through hell, because just the heat would like singe its wings, right? But this butterfly is coming in for a landing, and you can tell that it's going to land on him. And because of the symbol of this, I actually cried when I thought about this. I feel like this butterfly is humanity, and it's still going to land no matter what. No matter what it's put through, it is going to land. It has no fear. It's like a symbol of love to me. And what I was saying about the clip was Prince Charles seemed in the clip to be someone, when he talked about this butterfly, who was unloved. And he was also sort of suspiciously sussing out the artist, right? Because they're in front of a room full of people. He was just trying to find some sort of positive spot of this. I also want you to know he's carrying a sword there, something he has never had to use and will never have to use in his life. I also just love the way that he has mixed the sort of idea of passion and aggression and put this very gentle face with it, because it's exactly what the British royal family is about, right? It's this intense violence just with this face of a placid self-satisfaction, I would call it. That's what it is. This face is very self-satisfied. And lastly, this really reminded me of Kendrick Lamar. There's a story about Kendrick Lamar like getting over on Apple, and I actually think I might make that like one of my next 2 or 3 videos, because it's such a great revolutionary story in my opinion. And I think this portrait itself is a revolutionary act in my opinion. And mind you, this is his first portrait since his coronation, so it's almost a threat in a way of like, are you going to continue? And it's very much a place marker of like where we're at in the world, and I think it's so perfect. And I think this is something that's really valuable to the royal family because it marks a very distinct change in their position in the world, and that in fact like they are entering some sort of new era. Is it good for them or not? But he seems fine. He's not worried about it, which I think is perfect. Oh, the Kendrick Lamar thing, sorry, I brought up because it's almost like the artist finessed the royal family, but he has done lots of their other portraits and none of them have been anything like this whatsoever. They've just been simple portraits of people in their basic environment. So this is very much a departure, and it's very clear that he wanted to send a message with this, in my opinion. And then we have this quote down here. He said it highlights the king's environmental causes. So he's highlighted the king's environmental causes, but covered everything else that he has here on his chest. So I think it's beautiful. And no, I do not have an art degree. I mean, you do not need one in this case. Also, I don't think you need to be academic to approach a work of art. It doesn't matter. The best part is that it's up to your interpretation. Yeah, no one in the British media will say exactly what that is, which I think is another great thing about this, is that no one would be able to speak about it because they also too would be implicated in seeing something bad about the king. So this is like such, oh, so good. Okay, thanks for coming to my TED Talk.